Beneath the soil of northern France, one of the most remarkable relics of the First World War lay hidden for decades. A tank buried after battle, a crew cut down in fire, and a story that would not resurface until nearly 80 years later. This is the story of Deborah, Tank D51, and the men who fought inside her at Cambrai. On the 20th of November 1917, the Battle of Cambrai began. It was unlike anything the Western Front had seen before. The British unleashed over 470 tanks in a massive coordinated assault on the Hindenburg Line. The plan was bold: crush barbed wire, cross trenches, and punch a hole in the German defences, all without the usual warning of a long artillery barrage. It was the dawn of modern armoured warfare. Among the tanks that rumbled forward that morning was D51, known to her crew as Deborah. She advanced with the second wave, tasked with supporting the infantry west of Flesquieres, but the fight for the ruined village was brutal. Snipers and machine gunners fired from cellars and rubble. Infantry fell back under the storm of fire. Deborah pushed on alone. As she left the cover of the last houses, a German field gun found its mark. Shell after shell tore into the tank. Deborah was knocked out. When Scottish troops advanced the following day, they found her silent, battered, and surrounded by the dead. Deborah wasn't just a machine. She was home to a crew of 8 men, ordinary lives thrown into extraordinary circumstances. Gunner Frederick Tipping was the oldest. At 36, a warehouseman from Nottingham had 3 young sons waiting for him at home. Mature, steady, his experience and gunnery skills were invaluable in the cramped, noisy tank. He never returned to his family. At the other end of the scale was Lance-Corporal George Foot, only 19 years old, yet already a veteran. He'd fought in the very first tank action of 1916 and been awarded the Distinguished Conduct Medal for staying with his wounded officer under fire in no man's land for 3 days. His commander remembered his unfailing good nature, saying he would have made a splendid officer. George fell at Flesquieres. Gunner Joseph Cheverton was just 20, the son of a Cambridge coppersmith. Gassed on the Somme while in the infantry, he transferred to the Tank Corps and became known as a happy-go-lucky lad engaged to be married. His commander called him a splendid fellow and a cheerful comrade. He died in Deborah on his 20th birthday. Then there was Gunner William Galway, 25, from Hollywood near Belfast. He'd fought on the Somme with the Ulster Division before joining the Tank Corps after being wounded. Frank Heap described him as a life and soul of the crew, a joker who lifted spirits in the dark confines of the tank. Heap added that Galway died with a laugh on his lips. The other crew are harder to name with certainty. One may have been Lance-Corporal David Burt Marden, a butcher from the north of England, who survived the war but carried shrapnel in his body until his death in 1969. Another could have been Gunner Walter Robinson, aged 19. Some records say he fought in Deborah, others in another tank, D47 Demon. His commander described him as a gentlemanly soldier. He too was killed that day. Some came home, some remain only as names and fragments. But those who died inside Deborah now lie side by side at Flesquières Hill British Cemetery. Their stories bound forever to the steel giant that carried them into battle. Deborah's commander, Second Lieutenant Frank Heap, survived. He'd enlisted as a dispatch rider, then trained for the new and dangerous world of tanks. Cambrai was his first action. For his courage, he was awarded the Military Cross. The citation tells a story better than any words can. In Cambrai operations near Flesquieres on November the 20th, 1917, he fought his tank with great gallantry and skill, leading the infantry on to 5 objectives. He proceeded through the village and engaged a battery of enemy field guns, from which his tank received 5 direct hits, killing 4 of his crew. Although, then behind the German lines, he collected the remainder of his crew and conducted them in good order back to our own lines in spite of heavy machine gun and sniper fire. Heap survived the war and went into business and became a mountaineer, but he never forgot the men he lost inside Deborah. For decades, Deborah's wreck lay forgotten beneath French soil. Then in the 1990s, a local hotelier and historian, Philippe Gorklinski, began to investigate rumours of a buried tank at Flesquieres. Using eyewitness accounts, old photos and aerial reconnaissance, he pinpointed the spot. On the 20th of November 1998, 79 years to the day after Cambrai, Deborah was unearthed. She had been dragged into a shell hole and buried by the British, used as a makeshift shelter before being covered by the land. Today, she stands as a museum piece in Flesquieres, scarred by over 200 hits, but still a monument to her crew. Deborah is more than steel and rivets. She is a memory of men who went forward into fire in one of the boldest experiments of the Great War. Some came back, most did not. Today, Deborah rests in the Cambrai Tank 1917 Museum, and just next door, at Flesquieres Hill British Cemetery, lie the crew who died inside her. Their stories and their machine are bound together, side by side, a century later. If this story moved you, please like, share and subscribe, and in the comments tell me, have you ever been able to visit or see an original tank from the First World War? Lest we forget. If you like listening to the stories of the history of those who came before, then please give the video a like and subscribe to keep updated about future videos of the history of those who came before.